or about 10%. Continue. Okay. About 10% of Oregon's population is displaced right now due to wildfires. 3.1 million acres in California is burning. And about 30,000 people last night stayed in hotels or in shelters in the US. And that has a lot of implications around recovery. It has a lot of implications about how we can get folks back into their homes safely. And so all of this is done under the COVID environment. So volunteers wearing masks, socially distanced shelters. We cannot have the congregate shelters that we usually had. So, you know, our evacuees and people who are affected are a lot more spread out. So that makes things difficult. So I send an email to this group with a lot of really interesting links for you to explore. But I'm just going to go down that link, right, that kind of list. And so the first thing that you can do is host a blood drive. Right now, especially with schools closing or schools being closed or kind of opening, we also have a lot of companies that are at 5–10% of what they normally have within their, you know, actually in work. Most people are working from home. And so our blood drives look a lot different. If you were able to host a blood drive, you could have, we do it socially distant, we do the masks, the whole thing, to get folks in those chairs. And really you could create a service project around getting the community involved. Not any one organization, it has the bandwidth to be able to fill up a blood drive at the moment. And so if you can get 30 people in your doors, that would be something that would make a huge, huge effect to Ohio and to the nation as far as our blood supply goes. We are looking for diverse donors, so African-American donors. Sickle cell anemia is a huge issue that we're facing, and because we don't have the kind of school drives that we've had in the past, that is where most of our African-American donors are. And so we have to find them somewhere else. We have to invite diverse donors to our sites and invite them to help with sickle cell. Volunteer recruitment. So our unprecedented disaster season, in addition to COVID, we have 40 volunteers right now from the Columbus area who have deployed to the derechos, Hurricane Laura, or the wildfires just in the last couple weeks. And we are poised to send many, many more, including myself, quite honestly. It's kind of an all hands on deck thing. So there's a possibility to have a kind of a volunteer recruitment drive or some way to encourage folks to sign up and deploy. We also need help at home. So all the volunteers that we're sending to Oregon right now, we need to backfill their spaces. And so there are opportunities for individuals to learn more about the Red Cross and serve in whatever capacity they'd like. Having an information session or some sort of volunteer recruitment drive would be helpful. We also provide virtual emergency preparedness classes. So Be Red Cross Ready, Ready Rating, and the Preparedness or the Pillowcase Project. And so those are free modules that we can provide to your club or to the community as a whole, to anyone that you're involved with, to teach people about how to be prepared. The entire US learned what it's like not to be able to find toilet paper at the store, and what if that was water, or what if that was food? And so we encourage everyone, including everyone on this call, to get a kit, make a plan, and be informed. Now, you could have a kit making portion event, invite folks to put a kit together, get a Rubbermaid container and throw a bunch of water and food and first aid kits, etc. And I've seen organizations do that and kind of purchase their own things to make 10 or 15 or 30 or 100 kits and then distribute it out in the community or provide it to their own members. We have great training on that. It's free. It's very easy to set up. We have wonderful presenters that will do it virtually or in person at a socially distant event. CPR and first aid. So if I were to have some sort of cardiopulmonary issue, right now, if I were to pass out, if I were to lose my breath, my pulse, it usually takes about 4 to 8 minutes for emergency services to arrive. By that time, there are other issues with oxygenating your brain, etc. There are a lot better chances of me surviving if someone in my family or someone around had the CPR, AED, first aid training. You can host that training. We again do that socially distant. And these are all ways to kind of engage the community. So not only the Rotarians within your group, but opening it up to other people. There is a cost involved with the CPR training, but being able to say that you've trained half your team or a tenth of your team, imagine when we get back to work, when we get back to those Rotary meetings, and knowing that you have that safety net of folks who are currently trained and aware of CPR procedures. And then finally is donating to the Red Cross. And so in the Dayton tornadoes, this district had been extremely supportive in the work that we were doing in the Miami Valley, providing food, shelter, financial assistance, casework, mental health, nursing to those who were injured, and then recovery services throughout. And that hit home. And that was the same thing that people are experiencing right now in the wildfires, all while having COVID issues throughout. And so this is a challenging time for every organization. It's a challenging time for the American Red Cross, but we will be there. But we can't be there without support in a bunch of different ways. And so there's also an opportunity to do some sort of event, a fundraiser for the wildfires or disasters current or future. Those are kind of the left and right limits of what we can do. And then now it's time to be creative about how you can kind of engage with those things. And I will remain available via email or phone. And I would love to hear your bright ideas and ways that we can engage. I need about 10 to 15 days warning for any events or anything that you'd like to do, but we're here and we're ready to help in any way. So that's my 8 minutes. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your interest in our humanitarian mission. Thank you.
Great, thank
Corey,
you. MJ has a question.
I was going to say, Corey, is there a contact information? Is there something that we could get a hold of you for contacting?
Absolutely. I'll put my my email and my phone number in the chat, but I also sent an email out to this entire group. Dana has my contact information, and in the signature block, my information is, but I'll throw it in the chat. It's corey.paul@redcross.org, and my phone number is 440-320-3479.
Yeah, Corey, when we're finished, if you would drop it in chat, that would be great. And thank you for sending that pre-email. Anybody have questions for Corey?
Yeah, Corey, I have a question. One of the things that arises, and I don't know if you know the answer to this. If you're LGBTQ, you still can't give blood through the Red Cross. Obviously, we're trying to become a more diverse organization. We're trying to get more of LGBTQ members into Rotary. Is anything new happening on the Red Cross front in that area?
Yeah, thank you for asking. This is actually an issue that is close to my heart also because of my interest in diversity and inclusion. And so long story short, the males who have sex with males deferral is turned from a 6-month deferral to a 3-month deferral due to the need for blood. So we are very restricted by the FDA. And so this is not necessarily a Red Cross decision, this is an FDA decision. We have been advocating with the American Association of Blood Banks and the fact that the Red Cross supplies 40% of the nation's blood supply. We have a very large stake in this issue. We believe it's an antiquated and non-scientific issue, and we are advocating at the highest level to ensure that that deferral pretty much is no longer. So we've made some progress going from 6 months to 3 months, but there's a lot more room to go. My suggestion to engage with LGBTQ plus individuals would be to have that discussion, but then also there are ways to engage with a blood drive that is not necessarily sticking your arm. So there are virtual blood drives and other ways to advocate for that. We've had entirely like gay blood drives where they would then encourage family members and other members of the community to give in their stead.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
And if you're interested more of any of that information, reach out and I'm happy to kind of point you in our policy directives and other more information that will help you kind of navigate that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Other questions for Corey? Okay, Corey, thank you. That was very informative, and I appreciate you sending that information and all of the links and also giving everybody your contact information. So what we're going to do now is give everybody an opportunity to talk about how they could apply what they've heard in their club, or maybe just bounce different ideas around with one another. So we're going to go into some breakout rooms. And you all also received in your email from me some questions that can get you started. You'll have 10 minutes. So at 9 minutes, I will press the button that kind of brings you back. Don't click it right away because you still have 1 more minute, but it's sort of like your 1 minute warning, and it'll bring you back automatically at 10 minutes. Any questions before we go to breakouts? Okay, there'll be about 6 or 7 of you in a room. And if you need somebody to get started, here's my recommendation. Of the 6 or 7 people that are in your breakout room, the person whose last name is the last in the alphabet. So if you have a Z or an X or a Y or a V, whoever's last name starts with the last letter closest to the end of the alphabet. They usually are last, right? So we're gonna let them be first this time. And that will be the person to kind of kick off the conversation. When we come back, I'm gonna ask just 2 groups to maybe share out 1 or 2 things. So think about if you wanna be one of those groups to share out. So are we ready? Any questions before I click the button to send you to breakout? Okay, see you in 10 minutes.
Dick,
Yes,
okay.
I think
I
everybody.
just want to make sure you.
Okay, so do we have 2 groups that are willing to share? If somebody just wants to come off of mute and tell us just 1 or 2 things that you talked about that you thought were kind of cool. It's time for
Our group had a pretty good discussion. I'm in the Tri-Village Club in Upper Arlington and Grandview, and Price Finley is with the Upper Arlington Club. And then we had people from the Dublin Club as well. And we came up with the idea of having a combination blood drive and fundraiser, probably around Halloween. And it would be a competition. UA and Tri-Village would team up, and Dublin and Hilliard would team up and have their respective blood drives, and also try to raise donations to support the clubs. And it would be a competition. And we even came up with a kind of a theme for it, which sounds a little ghastly, but we would do it around Halloween, and we would be doing the Rotary Vampire Blood Drive, you know, something like that. I don't know. We also had some discussion. We had members from St. Clairsville and surrounding areas. Those smaller communities already have established blood drives, and having a new one might interfere. So they really like the idea of putting those kits together and helping to put kits together rather than try to initiate a new blood drive. So.
Great idea. Thank you for sharing, Wes.
Sure.
Who else?
Dina, our group had a list. Paul is going to be our spokesman.
All right. So yeah, we had 4 things. Can you hear me? Yeah, we had 4 things out there. The list was at the very base level. We could just take information in and make sure that we are distributing the information about the need, the vast need that we have that's out there from the American Red Cross, and that we just get it out there, right? So at the very base level, we should be doing that and getting it out to all Rotarians. And the second is, let's get together and piggyback. If you just want to just piggyback on a current drive that's out there, find a current drive that's out there and see how you could work together with a current blood drive that's out there. The third is, let's just start our own. You need 30 people is it to get the blood drive. Just start your own, get the marketing materials and start your own with the group. And the fourth is very much the same as what I just heard there, is the competition. So that competition is awesome, which is a competition with another group. So starting a competition, even if it's not just the Rotary, but starting a competition with another group that's out there or within the Rotary, and putting some teeth into it. What can you do with this drive, and who can bring in more blood? And that's a great theme with the Halloween theme. So those were the 4 ideas that we came up with on a kind of that sliding scale of least to most.
Great, thank you for sharing, Paul. And Gary, it was good to see you, and I see that you were V last in the alphabet probably, and you delegated.
How did you figure that out? You're on point there. It's good to see you guys too.
Thank you for that. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so you had some great ideas, and some things that maybe if you don't have the resources right away to plan your own. I love the idea Paul just shared, or tag on to somebody else's. What if you do something, please share it on the district Facebook page and the district website, because I'm thinking about, Wes, when you spoke, if you all had a blood drive, there's several other clubs that are very close to you that could have people participate in that as well.
Right,
so
right.
We could all work together. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
I hope you had fun in your breakouts too. Okay, I'm going to pass it off now to Michelle Davis for our next presenter.
Thank you, Dana. So it's my great pleasure and honor to introduce our next speaker. So though he's only been a Rotarian with the New Albany Club for just a little over 7 months, I think he's a true Rotarian ever since he was born. He exemplifies in his life service above self. Aaron Westbrook is a very passionate, innovative leader that aims to make an impact on every person he meets. He's a junior at the Ohio State University's Fisher College of Business, already a budding entrepreneur, and he is not afraid to carve out his own path. At the age of 15 years old, he 3D printed himself a prosthetic arm after being dissatisfied by one he received from a clinic. He sought out in high school to make prosthetics more accessible and affordable by making them eco-friendly. Now, fast forward 6 years later, his impact and passion can be seen in his nonprofit he launched, Form 5 Prosthetics. Form 5 empowers people to successfully interact with their world and their future by primarily 3D printing custom application prosthetics for those like Aaron living with a limb difference. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you,
And
Michelle.
Aaron, I'm sorry to interrupt before you begin. I just wanted to let you and the other speakers know Rick Smith is going to time you all. So when you have 1 minute left, he'll give you a 1 minute warning.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rick. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully everybody can see it. Just a moment here. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So good morning. I'm super excited to share more about Form 5 prosthetics. I appreciate the opportunity to really share my passion and my work in the community through the work that we do at Form 5. Like Michelle said, I'm a junior at The Ohio State University in the Fisher College of Business. My major is in marketing with a minor in innovation and entrepreneurship. And then in addition to being a full-time college student, somehow fit the time in, and I have the privilege every day to wake up and lead this nonprofit that I really dreamed about starting when I was in high school. So as Michelle mentioned, and as you can see in some of my photos, I was born without my hand, and really my story begins when I was a freshman in high school. So I went my entire life without a prosthesis. I adapted and kind of figured everything out in my own unique way. And it wasn't until I reached kind of 14, 15 years old, I was just curious what options were out there for myself and others with limb differences, and was quickly exposed to the barriers that many people face in getting prosthesis care and just finding the right prosthetics that empower them to do the things that they love. So really that kind of personal experience with traditional prosthetics inspired me and really allowed me to kind of seek out just new ways of making prosthetics. How can we reinvent how prosthetics are made, as well as how people get them? It's a very lengthy process. It's very costly. Traditional prosthetics can range anywhere from $5,000 to tens of thousands of dollars. And so kind of through my high school journey and kind of launching through my senior project, really finding a way to make the prosthetics affordable and accessible to those who need them. And we do that through recycling plastics into material for 3D printing. So Form 5 Prosthetics is a nonprofit organization founded in 2017. We just celebrated our third organization birthday in August. So we've grown a lot over the last few years. Our mission is to empower people to successfully interact with their world and their future. And this can look like many different things. Whether it's with helper arms or custom application prosthetics, like for riding a bicycle for my friend Maddie, or even playing an instrument, Form 5 is always looking to be innovative and provide these kind of unique solutions that really reflect the needs of our user. And so as kind of today and being a part of Rotary over the last few months, I have been really looking for a way to support the community just beyond my work in prosthetics and with the limb different community, and decided to, add an extra hat and join Rotary in early March. So I think I got inducted to the New Albany Rotary probably a week and a half before COVID outbreak hit the US. So definitely interesting times, definitely interesting entry point into the club and Rotary itself. But the passion and everyone's support of the community really invigorated me, and I think kind of inspired me to kind of make some of the steps that I have with Form 5. And we quickly pivoted our production in March to produce our proprietary face shield design. So under kind of Form 5 Prosthetics Board, we have different committees that support a lot of different fronts of the organization, one of them being our Innovation and Technology Committee, which is comprised of engineers and designers from volunteers that are from like Battelle and Honda, Design Central, other kind of engineering firms in the community that come together and of course support Form 5's mission of making prosthetics, innovating better prosthetics. But really this opportunity came just by seeing the good work that was being done across the seas to really allow others during this pandemic to be safe and be successful in their environment. And right now that requires having PPE. Hearing those three letters, everybody knows what they are. and they're a hot commodity right now. So how can, Form 5, given the pandemic, we couldn't, at first work with our recipients and provide them prosthetics due to some of the safety protocols. And I just could not sit idle. Our team could not sit idle. Our printers could not sit idle. And we wanted to jump in and help out any way that we can. So through partnerships with the Columbus Foundation, the New Albany Foundation, and New Albany Rotary, and many others, Form 5 has donated over 6,000 face shields to keep organizations in our community safe during COVID-19. And so I mentioned earlier, we do this primarily through our expertise in innovation and 3D printing technology. It's a high growth industry, which has proven tremendously during definitely this time and strain of manufacturing, that all makers around the world can lend a hand in the best way that they can. So Form 5, wants to make a big impact on the world, and we're really big about doing this in the greenest and most sustainable way. So in parallel with a lot of, the 3D printing technologies that we've innovated and developed, since its inception, Form 5 has been diverting plastic waste from the landfill and recycling it into material for our 3D printers. So a way that a lot of people have engaged in our mission in the past, and we've talked about this with New Albany Rotary Club as a way to get involved. We hold plastic drives, so the community can save up their plastics. In the past, we usually collect like plastics 5 or 7. It's in the recycling triangle code. And we hold these drives so that we can, have the material not go to the landfill or pollute the earth, but more importantly, support our mission, with the materials we need to print these life-changing medical devices. So how to get involved? There's lots of different options. Of course, I will encourage you to reach out to us if there's something that pops into your mind that I haven't talked about, that you could see your club fitting in and helping out and supporting. Definitely send us an email. We're always open to explore, ways that we can partner for service opportunities and really engage more people in our mission at Form 5. As well as, follow us on social media, kind of learn more about our work. And then, we're going to bring back our plastic drives sometime in 2021, permitting some of the safety guidelines. But something that our club at New Albany has been a part of over the last few weeks is helping us assemble the face shields. So you'll see in this photo here, the 3D printed visor, which is almost designed to look like a hat.
Aaron, you have 1 minute remaining.
Awesome. We have people come and pick up these boxes of shields and help us prepare them and bring them back so that we can send them out. So that's a great way for people to get involved and do it socially distanced. They just come pick up a box, tie the elastic onto the shields and bring them back, and Form 5 distributes to the community. So does anybody have any questions?
Aaron, when you said 5 or 7 plastics, what's an example of a 5 or a 7?
It's a terrific question. So 5s is primarily some of those durable, harder plastics. So think like medicine bottles, carry-out containers. It's a lot of 5s. A lot of food packaging stuff is 5s, some of the more stronger plastics. And then a 7 is more unique. It's kind of more industrial plastic. So you may not commonly see it in a household, but there may be something like PLA or ABS plastic. We do a lot of recycling in that as well.
What about like Coke bottles or 2-liter bottles? Are those?
Yeah, those we do not recycle. They're just not strong enough for the material for our printers. But those are recycled by the majority of recycling companies. The plastics that Form 5 is diverting from the landfill is often the ones that Swaco and Rumpke, they don't accept. So they really do end up in the landfill. So Form 5 is really, snagging a pool of plastics that are really underutilized.
Thank you.
Hey,
That's a great question. Thank you. Yes, Rob.
I'm down Rose Run from you all in Gahanna. I saw your zip code for your company is in Gahanna. So if we wanted to just come by and pick up a box of the visors for one of our meetings, do we just call you all ahead of time and say, get us a box, or how do we handle that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Send us an email. Let us know that your club's interested in kind of partnering and getting kind of in the groove of shields. I know Dana has been a big advocate and kind of getting us plugged in. So yeah, send us an email and we'll kind of do like a weekly drop off pickup kind of system, and we'll give you a box of shields and all the materials you'll need and instructions. And it's a really easy service project. I think Dana or one of the club members at New Albany said it's as simple as putting on a good Netflix show and sitting there and tying elastic until you get through a box. So it's not too labor intensive.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Now, Aaron, is all this funded through donations? You know, how do you, obviously the materials, everything costs money. How do you fund your the projects?
That's a terrific question, Steve. So Form 5 is a nonprofit. We're solely donation based. We're a small grassroots organization. So fundraising is really our key tactic to receive the funds we need to move our mission forward and to do this great work. And it's because of the support of Rotary and places like the New Albany Community Foundation. We've been able to receive grants that have supported our production of face shields and been able to quickly pivot to meet a critical need during this time. So, absolutely fundraising, donations, things of that nature definitely supports the organization, not just, directly with our PPE efforts, but beyond in our broader scope of our mission.
Any other questions before we go to breakout? Okay. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Michelle, for the intro. And I'm going to go ahead and send you to breakout rooms again. And when I give you the 1 minute warning, just don't click right away, same way it worked before. And so you'll choose somebody to be your spokesperson, and I'll just ask again for 2 groups to report out after the fact. So you should be getting a pop-up on your screen now.
A lot of ways to use that. So I think that's our first suggestion there. Our second suggestion in including this is when we're thinking about challenges, let's not forget our interact groups. And so if you do have an interact group, we happen to have 2 in Pataskala. They're battling high schools, if you will. There's a fun rivalry. So that's a great way to create a challenge as well. This would be a great fundraiser or service project these groups could do. Third, many Rotarians and other communities do a drug take back. And so the pills have to be emptied from those bottles, and then the pills are disposed of correctly. But then where are those plastic bottles going? And do we have an opportunity again to partner with Form 5 or another type of distributor somewhere along the way to really get the plastic in the right hands where it can be recycled and reused appropriately? So those are the ideas from Group 6.
Awesome. Thank you, Stacy. Nice to see Kadeen has her hand up. So Kadeen, did you want to share too? Maybe that was an
I'll share from our group. Should I go ahead?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. We also discussed two real possibilities, of course, is collecting the recycled plastics and the face masks as 2 possibilities. And taking that back to, in our particular situation, to our community service committee to flush out some of the ideas and move forward with those. Part of what we thought about the getting plastics is that especially some of those plastics, especially 5, are common, but not always taken in a local community. So we thought it was an excellent idea because it served 2 purposes. It gave an outlet for both recycling and to doing it as a group. The other was the face masks, and that there could be some creative ways to put those together in terms of cleanliness, using boxes before and after, and setting out up and outdoor circulation area. Part of it was a question regarding district grants. We were not aware of. Sometimes there's funding left over from district grants, and we could actually put it in this year. Again, use of teams. Steve, who is our president-elect, apparently brought up again our club had used teams, and that there were several key points. We did very well with a project for our local resource center, and the main keys was to announce at every meeting, get your sergeants to really harass the team leaders, and over a time period of about 5 weeks, we did extremely well compared to other collection projects we've done before. So if you're collecting plastics, you can use that. We could make the teams also the competition district-wide between different clubs, not just within the team. And ask that the district newsletter get involved with announcing those on a weekly basis and sending those back to the how you're doing each week to the clubs that are in competition. So that was our ideas.
Great ideas. That does sound fun to have a district-wide competition too. Okay, Kadeen, do you have one thing you want to share with us too before we go on?
Sure. A couple things. One was to challenge our club with collecting recyclables, or one person to collect the recyclables and then have them take them to the recycle center. So that was one fairly simple idea. But number two, if we could have Aaron actually come to us, I know we've talked about having him come as a speaker, but beyond speaking, a lot of our local school districts have clubs and classes that are learning how to 3D print and have the capability. So if he would be willing to come and teach those groups, those organizations and clubs and schools how to do that with respect to the PPE, then he would be sharing the knowledge beyond the Columbus area, and we'd be doing, the same mission work that he's doing up there. And in addition, inspiring those students to, learn from his example, especially the Interact, the Rotaract groups, the high school students.
That's great. Thank you.
Love that idea. Thank you guys so much.
Good. Thank you, Aaron. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so we're going to take an opportunity now to do a little bit of just fellowship and networking. I'm going to put you into groups of about 6 or 7 people together. And if you need a conversation starter, you can talk about why you joined Rotary, why you stay in Rotary, and maybe share a meaningful project. Just to kind of keep us on time, I'm going to give you about maybe 12 minutes. We were planning on doing it a little bit longer, but we're running a little over. So I'm going to give you 12 minutes and you'll have an opportunity to just chat amongst yourselves. Any questions before we go? Okay, you should get a pop-up. So welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a good time in your breakout room. I am going to, at this point, toss it over to Jenny Stotts. She's going to introduce our next presenter. So Jenny.
Great. Thank you, Dana. And good morning to everyone that I haven't had the chance to greet personally yet, but I am thrilled to introduce Paul Fuller. Paul Fuller currently serves as the Director of Operations and Ministry Expansion at Grace Haven and Central Ohio Youth for Christ. A successful entrepreneur and business owner, Paul has built companies in sales as well as service, digital marketing, insurance software, and social enterprise consulting. The mission of Grace Haven and Central Ohio Youth for Christ spoke to his heart, and when a spot opened up, he joined the team to help in any way he could. He believes an identity-based and solid truth and love is critical for all youth and is excited to share the impact of Grace Haven with all of you today. Please welcome Paul Fuller.
Paul, you might be on mute.
Oh man, I just said thank you, and then hopefully that doesn't count for my 8 minutes. Are you seeing my gracehaven.me
Yes, we are.
PowerPoint slide? Okay. Well, thank you, Jenny. Thank you so much. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come before you and make you aware of a problem that was presented to me a couple of years ago, laid really heavy on my heart, and changed my life. And I want to present it to you, and I'm not expecting it to change your life. I just want to present it to you and ask for 8 minutes and give you an opportunity to make a decision to help or not. But this is a hard discussion that I'm bringing you into, and it's one that I got a new pair of glasses recently. I'm wearing them right now. They're my computer glasses. I had to get them based on the pandemic and staring at a computer way too much. But I liken this discussion to being able to take a new set of glasses on and see the world in a new way, right? It's seeing something that's hidden and bringing it to light. And I'm going to share some stats with you that may make you sick, they may really shock you. And then I'm going to share our response to those statistics with you. The topic that I'm going to be talking about is youth in domestic minor sex trafficking. So what this is, and I'm just giving you the definition of it, right? And it's going to be a quick definition, and this is a quick slide, but it's the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, obtaining of advertising of a minor child for purpose of a commercial sex act. Essentially, it's the selling of your kids for sex, selling of their image for sex, for the sexual gratification of another person, of an adult. And this is a devastating thing for a child. And it's a hugely devastating thing in Ohio. And I have 2 daughters, and both young boys and young girls are at risk for this, but we have a huge risk factor in Ohio. And these are reported numbers from a University of Cincinnati study that was done in 2018. It was one of the first studies of its kind that was done. And we believe that these numbers are pretty low, but based on what we see, but 1,032 known victims in Ohio based on actually trafficked victims, people that are known to have been sold for sex, 4,100 suspected victims yearly at risk. And this is what this is more the number that we believe is true. And these people are, these youth are highly at risk for all sorts of just absolute pain. So they're 4 times more likely to have suicidal ideation, and they're also 4 times more likely to commit the act itself. And that's in a culture of youth right now that is looking to end their life at record rates. And we're at a on the verge of a tidal wave of this type of stuff occurring more often because of the pandemic. We've seen a huge increase in risk factors. We've seen a huge increase of domestic violence, which drives runaways. We've seen a huge increase in child abuse, which spikes runaways, and a decrease in referrals because kids aren't in school. And so referrals to social services actually help solve this problem. And we're seeing substance abuse, food insecurity, unmonitored screen time, which is actually a big pathway into trafficking, because traffickers do use the internet in a huge way. And even child pornography, if you look at that, that is a form of trafficking. Nationally, from March to April, the complaints from child pornography rose from 3 million last year to 7.7 million this year. That's 7.7 possible cases. 7.7 million. Ohio in 2018 had the 5th highest number of reported cases in the country. So we are at a crossroads, and we're at a crossroads of transportation. And this is, we're at a crossroads for a lot of reasons of the country. And so this brings us to the middle. And this is also a huge economic impact, right? And I'm throwing a lot of stats at you right now, and I'm throwing these numbers at you because I want you to know that this is a true problem. And then we're gonna work on solving it together, right? There's a huge monetary impact as well, and this is one of the things that we're studying. But if you just look at some of these numbers, you look at, you know, if a girl or a young boy is trafficked and receives lifelong treatment, this is $830,000 to society. If you look at it from a monetary standpoint. So as a former business owner, I'm looking, oh my gosh, you know, this is not just a detriment to the child and the youth in terms of pain, suffering, lifelong suffering. This is a huge impact monetarily to our society, our social services systems, and this is something we have to prove and prove out so we can actually get funding for the work that we do. And so the work that we do is saving lives. The work that we do is Grace Haven, and we're so excited to bring this work to you. We do comprehensive case management, and what this means is connecting survivors of sex trafficking to services that help them thrive in Columbus, Cleveland, and Toledo, and we're growing, and we want to grow this around the state, and this is one of the reasons we're talking to you today. We also have a therapeutic group home. It's only one of 2 in the state, and it's the longest running in the state by far. It's a very, very hard thing to run. We have up to 8 youth in the 8 girls. It is only for girls. We have up to 8 girls on the campus at this time, and we are looking to we're moving that up to 12. We're helping these youth heal in amazing, amazing ways. We're working with coalitions across the state. We are since we're the longest, we're one of the best providers for youth. We're working with coalitions in Cleveland, in Toledo, in Columbus, in Southern Ohio, Southeast Ohio, where this is a huge problem for education, mentoring, and more. We have mentoring in youth in Cleveland, in Columbus. If you are looking to be a mentor to this type of youth, we want to recruit that. And we have in-person and online education programs that hit all areas of the state. And I can give tons of numbers.
Paul, you have 1 minute remaining.
Awesome. I can give tons of numbers on how we're impacting people, you know, over 8,000 people in prevention education programs, et cetera. So you're the answer. And these are some of the service ideas that I'm going to bring up, such as we have a No Child for Sale campaign promise and webinar. These are a bit.ly link that I'm going to give to everybody. No Child for Sale, bit.ly, No Child for Sale. We have a promise that we're going to ask you to sign and get out there. This is just to get this out in front of people. Fundraising collaboration. This is an idea. We're looking to build out our campus, and we ask for collaboration through our team if you have ideas on fundraising, but we are actually looking to build out our campus and give these youth like a multi-purpose room and other things. We're expanding case management, volunteer work teams, and certified educators and other things. So, oh man, I ran over. So I'm at my time. Thank you so much. If there's any questions, I can take those, etc. I got excited.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. That was really good. And drop your information in chat. But does anybody have any questions for Paul before we go into breakout?
Yeah, Paul, this is Rick at Marietta Morning. I have a question, especially with my background in sport event management. Does Grace Haven do anything specific working with major sports teams or major sports events like the All-Star games or the Super Bowl, since that's where sex trafficking usually happens in higher numbers?
That's a great question. We have done events in collaboration around the Arnold. That is the only thing that we've done. The Arnold is actually one of the highest sex trafficked events in. It is the highest sex traffic event in the nation. The Super Bowl being the second. So we've done some collaboration around that with some of the other groups in town, but that's the only one. And I would love to talk with you more about how to expand that.
Thank you for that, Paul. Can I ask you to stop sharing at this time? Any other questions for Paul real quick?
Yeah.
Because we're going to leave.
Paul, I wanted to ask you about your volunteer work teams. You didn't get to that, but.
Yeah, so we have volunteer work teams. So if you're interested in this, if you're interested in bringing together Rotary, we have a variety of areas that you can come together. One of them is just coming on site and doing like a work day at our campus. The campus is starting, we're building it up, but we have a large area that has leaves and those type of things that you need to clean up. We always have painting needs and outdoor work team. You can do it socially distanced because it's outside. So we have volunteer work teams like that. We also need volunteers for, getting fundraising efforts out and those type of things.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and put you in breakout rooms, but you're going to have a little less time. So I'm just going to put you in 5 or 6. I'm going to give you 8 minutes and then I'll pull everybody back. So you'll get a message actually at 7 minutes and you'll come back at 8. And then I'll ask 2 of you to report out. So you should get a message on your screen to join your group. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Do we have 2 groups who want to share?
Sure, this is Gwen. I will go with our group. I'll be pretty brief. One of the things that we talked about was the fact that the gentleman shared how getting into schools for education was a challenge. And we talked about the fact that so many school superintendents are Rotarians. We didn't say board members, but doubtless board members are as well. But we talked about how we need to try to work to reach those superintendents and educate them about the human traffic issues that we're facing here in our state. Talked about the Arnold being the #1 sex trafficking event in the country. That was something folks in our group were familiar with, but I'm sure the vast majority of Ohioans have no idea about that. So we feel like that's, an actionable kind of place.
Thank you, Gwen. Anybody else have something to share?
And I can share our group. We just talked about how this is a really tough conversation to have, and really the issue is just education. So we talked about how that perhaps there might be some way that we could partner with business communities or the Chamber of Commerce to basically educate, have a community conversation. So maybe Rotary could partner with those community or those business organizations and have a community conversation and just education. If everybody remembers and participated in Gary Vaughn's fall training last year, we had an individual talk about kind of human trafficking and how those kids were actually, they were approached behind Kroger's here in Zanesville. And I don't know that, in our community, if people really realize that this is going on and, right underneath their noses. So education, Rotary could be a great part in kind of marketing the warning signs and educating. And then we did talk about maybe having local police, maybe present at Rotary, maybe just to kind of help educate Rotarians about the problem and then what we could do. So thank you. And good seeing everybody.
Good to see you too. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so I hope you found that very informative. I thought it was really good. So I appreciate you presenting to Paul. And I'm going to toss it back over to Jenny. She's got a little breakout activity for us before we do our last two presenters. So Jenny.
Awesome. So we're, we've been on Zoom for a little bit, so we're gonna get up and move around a little. We're gonna do a quick scavenger hunt within things that you find within your house. So you'll have 15 seconds to find the item and bring it back into your camera frame and show it to us. So, get ready. And the first one is gonna be an easy one, but find a Rotary logo or something that has a Rotary logo on it, a wheel, and show that to us. We'll have about 15 seconds. Oh, we knew MJ would win this one. She always has a Rotary sign nearby. Okay, Jack's got on a shirt, right? Some of us are probably wearing Rotary pins. Perfect. Awesome. Hopefully that one you didn't have to move away too far. And the next one is to show us a pet. So if you have a pet or some sort of animal, we'd like to see that. I'm very excited to see Dana's. Oh, perfect. Oh, Fran, thanks for sharing your little pup. It's cute. Oh, George with the dusk reference. I like it. I like it.
Bryce has his dog too.
Oh, all right. The next one is to find a kitchen utensil. So get a kitchen utensil and let's see it on the screen. This one you have to run for unless you all are doing your Zoom calls in your kitchen. I see a strainer.
Joe is ready.
Greg, do you have a back scratcher? I love it. A whisk. We're ready to bake.
Is a back scratcher a kitchen utensil?
That's a big knife, Shanna.
I'm concerned.
First try.
Greg's cooking show would be the most interesting cooking show ever.
Definitely.
Chuck's raising money at a Rotary fundraiser right now. On duty at 12 noon, so.
Okay, and the final one to get you moving is to find a family photo or some sort of photo and show that to us.
Nice. Jenny, I'm going to hop in. This one is the marriage license of my maternal great-grandparents.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. Thanks, Gwen. I want to make sure I can see everyone's. Oh, Joe, you have a horse on yours. I love it. I'm a horse girl. Very, very cool. So hopefully that injected a little bit of just moving around. I know I get a little wiggly when I'm in Zoom meetings. So just get to know each other, get to know each other's lives a little bit better. And so I hope that was fun. That's also an activity that you could replicate at your own club meetings or in some of your Zoom travels, just to get people up and moving, get to know each other a little bit better. So I hope you had some fun doing that. And back to Dana.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thanks, Jenny.
That was awesome. And thank you for getting us right back on schedule. I appreciate that. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Jack Neely, and he's going to introduce our next presenter.
Yes, I'm proud to introduce our next speaker, who is from the After School All-Stars. Allison Ansari, who's the development manager for that group, has received her BS in Business Administration in the concentration in Marketing and International Area Studies from Drexel University. Combining her interest in business and her passion for education, Allison started her career in accounting at the KIPP Foundation in San Francisco, and then transitioned to development and worked in the KIPP New Jersey in Newark, New Jersey. Allison found her way to After School All-Stars upon relocating back to her hometown of Columbus. In her spare time, Allison enjoys traveling, volunteering concerts, and watching 30 Rock on repeat. So I give you Allison Ansari.
Hi, everybody. I was so disappointed I couldn't participate in the pet sharing. I came to the office so that I wouldn't have my animals in the way. So I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see?
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jack and Dana, for doing such a great job today. And thank you to Lee Coburn, who is a Rotarian and one of our board members, and that's how we got connected to today. So I'm going to share a little bit more about After School All-Stars and ways that you guys can get involved. So After School All-Stars, what we do is we provide comprehensive after-school programs for low-income students. We've been in Columbus since 2000, but we're part of a national network of programs. So we were founded about 25 years ago by Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. I know we've been talking about him a little bit. So he is our founder, and we have now 90,000 All-Stars that have after-school programs across the country, from New York to Honolulu, across 468 school sites. So we're very excited to be a part of something that is so big and so important across the country. Our chapter oversees programs here in Columbus and in Toledo, and there's also a separate Cleveland chapter. So our footprint in Ohio is Columbus, Toledo, and Cleveland. Traditionally, we've served in the public school space. So here in Columbus, we've partnered with Columbus City Schools since 2000. And what we do is we run our programs right in their school spaces so that there's a seamless transition from the school day to after school, and so that families know that their students are safe from 8 a.m. when they get to school until 5:30 when families can pick up. All of our students in Columbus City receive breakfast and lunch in the school day, and then they receive dinner with After School All-Stars. So we've been serving at Columbus City Schools for a long time, schools on the east side and the south side. 96% of our students are eligible for free and reduced lunch, which just basically means that their family's income is lower than the poverty threshold. So these are kids and families who have high needs and need a lot of extra support and just don't have access to enrichment opportunities after school like their more affluent peers. So with COVID-19 going on, Columbus City Schools is virtual right now, and we did try to do a virtual after-school program in the spring, and it just didn't really work. Kids were having a hard time just getting through their online schoolwork, so it was a really big burden for them to just get online again for after school. So we've pivoted our work a bit to remain relevant and be able to serve our kids. We know that they really are craving in-person opportunities right now. They need structure, they need fun things to do. So this year, and this is probably subject to change throughout the whole year, but right now we are actually running a program at KIPP Columbus. So my background in KIPP kind of came in handy here. We are serving 4th through 12th graders from 3 to 6 p.m. Mondays through Fridays, which is really exciting. We're going outside, we've got games, we've got activities, and it's just really fun time to be with your peers. It is still a little bit awkward because they're in little groups and they're in a classroom, and there's a lot of safety protocols, of course, but it's still fun to just be outside of your house and have something to look forward to after school. So we're serving at KIPP, and we're also looking at expanding into Columbus housing sites, probably on the east side again. So we may see some of the students we've served through Columbus City, which is exciting because we miss them. And again, this would give kids an opportunity to get away from their computers and their virtual schooling and have some structured and safe in-person activities. And there's a lot that comes with that. Our program traditionally focuses on academics with a real focus on social emotional learning, as our students do experience a lot of trauma in their lives often. We also focus on literacy because many of our students are not reading at grade level, and they're not meeting that 3rd grade reading guarantee that the state has mandated for students. They want all kids to be able to read at a 3rd grade reading level by the time they hit 3rd grade. We also provide enrichment activities like the Youth Yoga Project, Girls on the Run, cooking classes through Local Matters, bringing in all those outside providers that their suburban peers are having exposure to every day. We bring them into All-Stars. And we also focus on health and fitness, of course, a la our founder, Governor Schwarzenegger. We've got to get our kids moving and have healthy minds and bodies. And again, all of our students have a meal before they go home. So there's lots of ways for you guys to get involved. I'm going to go over a few of them. Some of them are in person, hopefully to come when things calm down a bit or you're comfortable, but we also have some virtual options because there's lots going on here and we'd love to engage you. So we really focus on exposing our students to lots of different career paths. And so at some point, we'd always love to be able to bring our students to your business. Let them come and experience that firsthand and see what you're doing every day. You're also welcome, when it's safe, to join us in person and talk a little bit more about your career path. We really want to show our kids that, you know, like the girl in the middle of this photo here, you know, everybody wants to be a basketball player or a football player, but there's so many jobs in sports that you can do. If you're not even the player, you can be in broadcasting and journalism and behind the scenes stuff. So we want to get them to understand that there's so many career paths in fields that they may be interested in for them to explore. And since, you know, again, we can't really all come together right now, we do have a way to do a career panel for yourself. Like, you can video yourself talking about your career path, and we can show that to our kids, and we can find a way to kind of have that back and forth dialogue that's not in person right now, but is really important for them to, again, continue to hear those job opportunities. We also do invite volunteers to join us during programming. That's not happening right now, but that is something to keep in mind just going forward. If you or your family, or if you have high school age students or grandkids who are looking for service hours, we're a great space for you to get those. We'd love to bring you in and have you join in the fun that we're doing after school. And then we also have our students work on service projects throughout the year. There's 2 big dates that kids do service projects: Make a Difference Day in October and Global Youth Service Day in April. We've made blankets for animal shelters. We've written cards to veterans. So I heard earlier folks saying that they do service projects with their clubs. And if you'd ever want to partner together, where we could kind of, the club could work on a service project and we could work on a service project, and we can maybe submit the project together. We would love to do that, because we really want our students to become good citizens to their communities as well.
Allison, you have 1 minute remaining.
Yes, sir. I'm going to be quick. So we do have some annual drives. One coming up is our annual Thanksgiving drive and Thanksgiving meal drive, where we provide like all of the fixings for a Thanksgiving meal, plus a gift card for the turkey. And it's been hugely successful. Families are so grateful. You know, they don't even teach about Thanksgiving in Columbus City schools right now, because most of the families can't afford to have that meal. So we bring that to them, and we've gotten a lot of companies involved. And so if that's something that you're interested in, we'd love to have you. We also collect hygiene items. We do weekend backpack meals, just some shelf-stable things for long breaks or long weekends, and also do some winter gear drives. So we've got lots of drives if you're interested in having your club join. And then lastly, we do have some big events, like Paul was saying, like all of us, you know, obviously helping financially is always helpful. Our big fundraiser is called Experience Arnold, and since Governor Schwarzenegger is in town for the Arnold, we actually get to have him. So that's a real fun one, but we've got lots of good events. And I'll just wrap up and say thank you so much for your time, and I will plug in my information in the chat box, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Allison. That was awesome. Any questions for Allison?
This is not a question, Allison. This is a comment. I participated in Girls on the Run because my niece convinced her favorite uncle to run with her in a 5K. Yay. But it was such a great project because she would get excited about it, and she ran every day after school, and she found not only a love for running that was short-lived because she was 9 at the time, but she found a love for something, at least in that moment, and it was a good after-school care support program. So my women in sports class that I teach looked at a similar program, bringing it to Marietta about 2 years ago. So that's somewhat on the table for us down here.
That's great. It's a great program. It's such a great opportunity for the girls. They work so hard, they train, and then at the end of the program, they do a 5K together, and they have a running buddy, mentor that's with them, for anyone who doesn't know. So it's just a great way to build relationships, be active, find a healthy outlet to use when you're dealing with lots of things as young people are going through. So it's just a really great program, and we're glad to partner with them.
Allison, we'll be in touch with you too. I think my club would be able to do the Thanksgiving meals thing with you. So
good.
I'll connect up with you.
I have a flyer. I'll send you, Dana.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to send everybody to breakouts. Have some conversation. I'm giving you a shortened breakout again. If you need more time, you know you guys can always call each other after. Okay, so I will give you the signal to come back in 7 minutes. Thank you. Hey, Joe, is Barry on? Barry Unger?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I've been looking for Missy and Barry. It's just 11, and she said she was going to get on a little before 11.
So if for some reason we don't have them, we can go ahead and move into our close. Steve was going to say a few words, and we're also going to have a drawing for a prize for the people who are in attendance only.
Yeah,
we'll just end without them.
I'm disappointed, and I assumed we'd have them the whole time. I didn't know they were only going to join at the end.
Yeah, well, and you know, the agenda said 11:10, so hopefully they'll still maybe make it on before.
I hope so.
I'm going to go ahead and check in my email too.
Yeah, I've been doing the same thing.
Okay.
I don't think I was on the distribution list for that original email. I kept looking for my name in it because you forwarded it to me when you had trouble with Missy's.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. We got through it. But yeah, I keep checking Facebook messaging and my email, and I'm not getting anything from Missy.
Okay.
Well,
we never get complaints if we end a little early.
No, but it's a shame that they're not, because the one they're talking about right now is Columbus, Toledo, and Cleveland, so it doesn't really affect all the groups. But
yeah.
Habitat, I think, would. Did somebody else just join?
Ellen.
Oh.
So Ellen, I'm going to give you an option to go to a breakout if you want to. They still have a little over 5 minutes. But we're back on track. We were running a little behind.
Yeah.
I really didn't factor in as much kind of conversation in between. So that's okay. It's good flexibility.
It's all been excellent. We've been having excellent discussions. This is all such good information. I just wish Missy was here.
I have a ton of ideas.
Yeah.
And I invited our service project person to come, but I'm going to send her the recording. Hopefully she'll be able to watch it.
Oh, that's a good idea. I don't think we've got anybody from Cambridge or Zanesville Noon or Coshocton. Of course, I don't know all the members.
Mm-hmm. You're Cambridge Club, correct?
Yes.
I'm your speaker, I think next or the week after. I can't remember.
I think it's the week after. I'm not sure. Okay. I saw you on that.
Yeah, coming up pretty soon.
Are you going to do Zoom or are you coming here?
I'm going to come.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. I tried to do a hybrid. Like if it's all Zoom, that's fine. But I did one hybrid on Zoom and they couldn't hear me very well.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I'll just go.
We get about half and half.
Yeah.
It's a good split. And every time the Zooms are a little bit better, but we're still not there yet with including the Zoom.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had some good conversation. Who wants to share? Maybe just have one group share at this point.
Okay, this is Gwen. Oh, go ahead.
Gwen,
go ahead, Gwen.
When she's
go
passing
ahead.
it off to you.
Okay, This is Gwen. We just talked about the fact that, you know, if we're not aware, we need to find out in our communities if they have after-school programs. If they do not have after-school programs, then we need to see if we can connect Allison with the decision makers who can bring something like that to the community, who certainly are either Rotarians or the Rotarians know who those people are. And if we already have established after school programs, you know, what can we as Rotarians be doing to support those efforts? What are their needs and how can we help? So it's sort of a fact-finding mission. I know that the Newark Club is looking at having somebody from their after school program speak to their board next week, so, or their next meeting. So somebody's already on it.
Awesome. MJ, did you have a quick one you wanted to share?
We just, real quick, we just talked about how maybe some of the, how we could partner with Allison is probably some of her students that are participating in her program don't have the access to maybe agriculture or horses or farming. And so we thought that it might be a great way to partner to do vocational talks and have presentations to the students via Zoom, you know, with some of those individuals that they don't necessarily have access to or connection to. So that was just a quick one.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, and Allison, I have one quick question that was brought up in ours.
Sure.
Are this, for doing the tutoring and the mentoring after school, are the students just, it's like, I've been on the screen all day with adults and I don't really want to be, you know, continue to be sitting in front of a screen to be tutored by another adult? Is that I just see that as an issue.
Sure. No, I mean, in full transparency, that's why we're in person, right? Like, we've got to find ways for them to have non-screen time activities because they're already on the phone all the time and now they're on the computer all the time for school. So it is a lot. I think if we find someone who's really engaged and really wants to connect, I'd love to be able to find a way to do that virtually. And hopefully that one day that could transition to an in-person relationship, just because we all know that, you know, especially as adults, we can connect via Zoom and it's fine, but when you really build a relationship, it is in person. So I think starting it via Zoom with the intention that it would go in person is a great opportunity.
Thank you, Allison. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to Joe to introduce our final presentation for today. And Missy and Barry, you weren't here earlier, so I just wanted to give you a heads up that Rick Smith is our timekeeper, so he'll give you a 1-minute warning at 7 minutes, and then he'll tell you when the 8 minutes are up. So Joe, off to you.
Okay, well, I'm thrilled to introduce Missy Best. Melissa Best is the Director of Community Engagement for Habitat for Humanity of Southeast Ohio. She's been a proud Rotarian since 2017 and is a member of the Zanesville Daybreak Rotary Club. She has over 10 years experience in the not-for-profit world and has a passion for serving her community. She's joined today by Barry Unger for their presentation. So Missy, take it away.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hear you're having great sessions, and I am a proud Rotarian, and I'm sad to have missed some of the sessions earlier, but we're happy to be with you now. When Joe asked me to be a part of this, I was really excited because in Zanesville, Habitat for Humanity has a wonderful partnership with the Rotarian clubs. And, you know, it worked so well for us. We wanted to share with you some things of how you could partner with your local Habitat for Humanity. So I wanted to bring on Barry Unger. Barry is the Habitat for Humanity of Southeast Ohio volunteer coordinator. And he really is an expert at many things. Prior to being at Habitat for Humanity, Barry worked in conservation and rehabilitating. He's released many endangered species. He's been in environmental education and assisted in research and volunteer coordinating. So Barry, I'm gonna turn it over to you, and then maybe I could have that last minute to wrap up.
Great. Good morning, everybody. I'm excited to be here. Like Missy said, we've got a great relationship with our Rotarians and our communities. And when they're coming out to the work site, we know it's going to be a great day. So, you know, I can't speak for all habitats, but I do want to give you an idea of, you know, what we're looking for, and I think what at least can give you some ideas of when to reach out to your habitat and some ideas to bring up and things to talk to them about. So our two biggest challenges are obviously volunteers and finding funding. So I'll let Misty talk about the funding a little bit. I'm going to talk about the volunteer opportunities. You know, we're living in a hard time right now. Habitat for Humanity, our volunteer opportunities tend to be very hands-on, working in groups, working with people, between working on job sites or working at the restores. As an organization, you know, we have pledged to do everything that we can do to keep our work sites as safe as possible by taking measures as far as trying to keep people distance and keeping masks on, and same thing with our customers coming in the store. So, you know, as an organization, we're doing the best as we can, but that's not always, you know, a possibility for people. Some people still just don't want to go out, and we understand that. So one of the things that we can use help with, and I think probably all habitats could, is promotion. Promotion can be something from a skills-based, you know, you could work in promotion industry and graphic design, or you know, marketing, or maybe you're just really savvy with social media. Those are things that as an organization we need. So helping with design, helping with social media, promoting us to your businesses, talking to your churches, talking to your libraries. These are things that you can do from the internet, from home, and helping us form chapters. This is an idea that we've been talking about, and this is a good time for us to kind of try out some of these new programs. Having people step up in the community and say, we want to form a chapter, we want to help you guys build, we want to help you guys raise funds. This is a good time to plan and create the policies and yeah, basically the plan to do these things. You could work, if you're working at home or you're working still in an office, you know, getting together with people in your office or people even in your industry and trying to come up with some fun ways to get people involved. So that could be who volunteers the most hours, who can share the most you know, posts, who can do this, who can do that. Just things to kind of motivate people to rally around a friendly competition. And you can work with us or wherever your local habitat is to come up with ideas of what you could do and ways to motivate you. So is it a certificate at the end of it for the group or the person who has the most hours, some kind of an award, something that you can do internally. So that's something that I think is really fun. And this is a good time to kind of play around with those. For me right now, I'm focused a lot on trying to get feedback. So, you know, I've been doing volunteer coordination for about 12 or 13 years in some capacity, whether it be in natural resources or for habitat. And, you know, we have a lot of research papers and seminars and all these things that tell us what motivates people to volunteer, how to thank them, and all these different things, which is great for us to go off of, but nothing is better than hearing directly from you as an organization or as an individual. What motivates your organization to come out? You know, is it a certificate at the end or some kind of a get together? What can we do to get you guys out to help? And I think that's something that every habitat would like to hear is, you know, how can we get you involved? So that might have been a little fast. I kind of tend to talk fast anyway. But that's basically kind of what I come up with. Just some ideas to jump off in. So I don't miss you if you want to talk a little bit about some of the fundraising.
Yeah, so some other things that would be helpful, in addition to the things that Barry has talked about, is really looking internally at how can you support your local Habitat for Humanity by gifts in kind. Maybe you own a landscaping company, maybe you are an expert drywaller. There's lots of people that have skills and talents that just may not know to volunteer with Habitat for Humanity, but those type of services would be wonderful. We also see a lot of benefit to teams coming together, and it, like Barry mentioned it, we do have to go in a socially distanced manner now, but for team building. So our own Mary Jane Shackelford, she's had a couple teams on the build sites before. A lot of our sponsors do that, but we'd love to have teams come out and they have a lot of fun, they do a lot of good, they learn a lot of new skills. So whether you do have skills or you don't, I think that's one thing to recognize when volunteering with Habitat for Humanity, is that you don't need to be an expert craftsman. When I was invited to the build site for the first time, they asked if I could hammer, and I thought, yeah, I've hung pictures in my house. Well, no, these were like, 3-inch nails and building walls, and I didn't know how to do that, but I was taught. So I would say that just not being afraid to be helpful on a build site would be one thing. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I guess what I would want to close with is that recognizing that your local Habitat for Humanity may have a different need than your neighbors, and to just reach out to them and ask, how can you help? Do they need financial assistance right now? Are there ways that you can come together and fundraise small projects? Or can you bring a team? But contact your local Habitat for Humanity and see what their particular need is. They will be happy to partner with Rotarians.
Thank you, Misty, and thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Barry. Any questions for Misty and Barry before we go to breakout?
Dana, I have one. Missy and Barry, don't you accept donations at the store for items that people buy?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I was very, we have 3 restores. Your local Habitat for Humanity may have a restore too. And it's basically a thrift store for construction, furniture. You never know what you're going to find in a restore. Some things are brand new, some things are left over from somebody else's construction site. But we have a wonderful program, and it is one of our largest fundraising efforts, is the restore. So 100% of those profits from the restore go right back into our services. So great question. If you've not been to a restore to shop, you really need to check it out. You really don't know what you're going to find there.
Thank you for that.
Missy, I have one question. Are you guys still doing builds right now, or are they on hold because of COVID?
So we're still building, but our build schedule for at least Habitat for Humanity of Southeast Ohio has been modified. I would guess that several habitats around probably the United States and beyond have been modified too. Barry, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Not really, just it has definitely changed how we do things. Typically we would have, 8 people on each build site, and we would accept large groups of up to 15 people. Right now, we're not doing things like that. Our max build site capacity is like 4 to 6 people. So it has slowed things down for us, but we are still building.
Thank you for that. Just to keep us on time, I'm going to go ahead and send everybody to the breakouts. You'll get a little pop-up to say join, but I'm only going to give you 5 minutes in breakout this time. Thank you all. Thanks for presenting very much.
Welcome. Thanks, everybody.
And you can drop your contact information in the chat too. Okay, welcome back, everybody. I would just like to forego the opportunity to report out this time to keep us on track. I'm going to pass it over to Steve. He's going to say a few closing remarks. And in the background, I have a random name generator website going. So I'm going to choose one lucky person who's still with us today to win a fabulous prize. So Steve, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Well, I just want to say thank you. This was, as I said at the beginning, it's a very unusual fall seminar. I thought it gave it, but it did what we wanted to do and what you said you wanted. It gave us 5 different projects that we could, 5 different organizations with whom we could potentially do service projects. Made me much more aware of how we could interact with these organizations. And hopefully it's something you can then take back to your clubs. I am extremely pleased that all the leadership that was on this meeting, and all the Rotarians who might not yet be in leadership, but hopefully will be someday. We're always looking for leadership development. It was great to see all the past district governors who were on, past District Governor Steve and past District Governor Gary. Really appreciate it. And I really think that you know, things like this make us think, hopefully make us think a little bit differently about, gee, I didn't know about that. We can really get involved in that. I do want to say also before I finish, we have other events coming up within the district. We have a district master class coming up. What is it? The third Tuesday in October.
That's correct.
You know, and in October 20th, and it will be on change leadership. And I think that it would be very interesting from a Rotary and a business perspective. Ann Ralston, a Columbus Rotarian, will be leading that class. We've gotten great feedback from our previous Rotary master classes. We didn't do, because of the fall seminar, we're not doing a master class in September. This was our master class, but look forward to that. Also, on October 10th is the Zone Summit. It's an all-day event from, you know, basically 9 to 4. Please take a look at signing up. There's all kinds of different pieces of that. I think that you'd find interesting. Take it back to your clubs. More information will be out on that in the coming weeks. But I think you will find it interesting, and you'll be with Rotarians from not only our district, but from our zone, which goes from Lake Erie down to the Gulf of Mexico, and also our sister zone to the west of us. And that will be, every time you get to experience other Rotarians who are not within your district, I think it always expands your knowledge, and it expands your interest in Rotary, because you see that you're connected. You know, I always feel that we're culturally connected to all the other Rotary clubs, you know, all the other districts and all the other Rotary clubs in the world. And you'll see how that connection happens and how they view things a little differently, but from an interesting perspective. I want to thank Dana and the district training team and all the persons who helped with this. All of our presenters were excellent. Well, you know, Rick and Brandy and Barb Quackenbush, all the persons who are part of our district training team. I just want to thank you very much. We're only going to get better. Everything, you know, this was great, and we're going to have more for you, different kinds of, and in many different ways and forms. So please stay tuned. It's going to be an interesting year. And with that, I will turn it, I want to say, have a great weekend. Enjoy, and, you know, just be a Rotarian every day. I think that's the best way I can describe, you know, my feeling about Rotary. Try and be a Rotarian every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That was awesome. AJ Smith from St. Clairsville, you're the big winner today, so I'm going to be sending you this power bank that is a Rotary power.
Woohoo, AJ!
Hey,
AJ!
Thank you all for coming. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job,
Good job,
everyone.
Dana and all your
Good
team.
seeing everybody.
Thanks, Dana.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks,
Great
Bill.
day.